A fight is brewing inside the Queensland Liberal National Party over gender quotas, with the women's arm of the LNP launching a campaign to block their introduction. Will be fantastic. Instead, LNP women will be making the case for endorsing all candidates purely on the basis of merit, as it should be. That is all being debated at the party's conference this weekend in Brisbane. For his take on that and the developing COVID situation in New South Wales, I caught up with the Deputy Leader of the National Party, David Littleproud, earlier. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, mate. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I want to raise quickly the COVID situation in New South Wales. The Chief Health Officer saying we've got a national emergency and so it's time to redirect Pfizer supplies towards Western Sydney. Is that possible or is that unfair to other states and territories? How do you think this will play out?
Well, I think the first priority is to make sure that we get the lockdowns right and we get the tracing right. The vaccines can come, and obviously we've had constraint issues around supply. One, because of the changes in advice around AstraZeneca, and two, because Pfizer, the one that we're bringing in, we had to wait for the production of that in the United States, and we had to wait our turn. So the main thing at this time of crisis in New South Wales is to make sure we get the basics right, which is ensuring that we lock down as hard as we can and make sure that the tracers are given the time to get this under control. The vaccines will be there either now or in the future, but that's the priority as I would see it at the moment.
But if this blaze continues, and you call it a fire, the fire is out of control, according to Dan Andrews, in Western Sydney. Don't you need to therefore send the resources to where the fire front is?
Well, and that's why the Prime Minister's made it clear on a number of occasions to New South Wales and to other states, including Victoria, that if they required the assistance of the Australian Defence Force or other resources from the federal government, then they would have it. In fact, that's, as I understand, the Prime Minister's made clear today. He's provided that opportunity to the New South Wales government since this Delta outbreak, and now the New South Wales government is taking up that offer, and I would understand, as we speak, that the plans, the use of Australian Defence Force and other Australian assets, Commonwealth assets, are being determined and will be announced. So we're there hand in hand. We've made it clear that we'll be there with them consistently, provide them every resource, but at the moment we just need to make sure we get this under control, because that's the biggest constraint on people's lives at the moment, is that until this Delta variant and this outbreak in Sydney is under control, they're going to have their rights impinged.
You're in Brisbane for the LNP state conference. I'm just wondering whether your colleague George Christensen, MP for Dawson, is right when he says the LNP has lost its way, it's dysfunctional, and it doesn't take into consideration what the grassroots demand. He's made those comments this week. Does he have a point?
Well, I think the beauty of the LNP and the National Party that I joined here nearly 30 years ago is that the membership still own this party, and this morning there was a significant vote to remove a significant part of the LNP that George Christensen had an issue with. The membership has taken back control of the party, and they are doing that as they get the opportunity every year through the conference and every 5 years through a constitutional conference, which this one is. They have made a very loud and sent a very loud message that they still own this party and will control this party. So I think while George may have made some commentary from Mackay, I'm sure he'll be very happy tonight to know that the changes that he was talking about are actually being enacted by the membership. And I think that's the beautiful thing of being part of a democratic political party that effectively that manage and actually respect their membership to give them the opportunity to make those votes has been enacted today and tomorrow when there'll be a ballot for the presidency.
I want to raise this business of quotas. We're not going to have quotas within the National Party or the LNP, are we?
No, and I think there has never been a move of any real substance towards that. We're all created equally. What is important, however, is that both men and women are given the equal opportunity to put themselves forward in an environment that is fair. And that way, the best candidate, no matter their sex, will get through. And that is a better thing, that is a better outcome for democracy in this country, that the best man or woman, no matter their gender, has been given a crack, been given a chance to have a go, and they've got there on their own merits rather than because of a quota.
Are you concerned, just finally, are you concerned about these federal poll numbers? If an election were held tomorrow, the coalition would be out of government.
Well, obviously, I've made a very clear point since I became elected in 2016 never to comment on polls apart from election day. They'll go up and down. The main thing is to not focus on polls, but to focus on your job and what your responsibilities are and make sure you get it done. And I think if you start focusing on polls, then you lose sight of exactly why we're here, to make a difference and to make the lives better of every Australian that we're there to represent, no matter their political persuasion. So I think you'll see that as we get closer to the election, people will cast their minds to what we've been able to achieve over the last, particularly the last couple of years in the face of bushfires and COVID, and kept the economy going, and the other mob, who really are just hoping the fact that we fall over. They have no policy, no strategy, nothing to offer the Australian people. We will get through this. We will get through COVID-19. And what the Australian public will have to decide in early next year is who's best to steward this country to make sure that their opportunities are there for them and their kids. And when you've only got an opposition that's talking about vaccines, and we've got a government that has faced up to the constraints we've had, the challenges we've had in getting vaccines into this country, if that's all that they have to offer the Australian people, then they're going to leave them high and dry, and they're going to be sold a pup if they go with the Albanese government.
Enjoy the conference this weekend. Thank you very much for your time.
Anytime, mate. Great to be with you.
Okay. David Littleproud.